Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're going to talk about something called cerebral palsy. It's all about how something that happens really early in a person's life can change their whole developmental journey. But we're also going to look at the incredible ways therapy can help build totally new paths forward.
But before we really dive in, let's think about something that applies to every single one of us. Have you ever wondered what guides a baby's very first movements? What makes them automatically turn their head or grab onto your finger so tightly? These are reflexes, automatic responses, and they're going to be a huge piece of this puzzle, so keep that idea in your back pocket.
All right, so here's our game plan. First, we'll nail down what cerebral palsy actually is. Then, we'll get into why it looks so different in every person. After that, we'll talk about development, how therapy comes into play, and finally, we'll zoom out and see how it affects daily life way beyond just movement.
Okay, let's jump right in. To really get a handle on cerebral palsy, we've got to start with the basics. What it is, and maybe just as important, what it isn't.
Okay, this definition right here, it's got the most important concept you need to understand about CP. See that word non-progressive? That's huge. It means the original injury to the brain doesn't get worse over time. But, and this is a big but, even though the damage itself doesn't spread, its effects kind of ripple out and can have a massive impact on how a child develops and grows. And there isn't just one single thing that causes it. The injury to the brain can happen before birth, during birth, or even in the first few months after. And that variety, that's a huge reason why CP looks so different from one person to another. So, what does this actually look like when it comes to movement? Well, the first thing to get is that cerebral palsy isn't just one single thing. It's a spectrum, a really wide range of possibilities. A lot of the time, the main differences come down to something called muscle tone. Just think of it like the default tension in a muscle when you're not even trying to move it. So with spasticity, that tone is way too high. The muscles are super stiff and tight. But with athetosis and ataxia, the tone is all over the place. It fluctuates. And you can imagine, that makes smooth, controlled movement incredibly difficult. Okay, so to really understand what that different muscle tone means in the real world, we need to look at how babies typically learn to move. Because for a child with CP, that whole journey, it can take a very different path.
Just look at this. It's pretty amazing, right? A typically developing baby goes through this incredible step-by-step process. Every skill builds right on top of the last one. From being a little curled-up newborn to lifting their head, pushing up on their arms, and then bam, they're sitting up on their own. It's like climbing a ladder, one predictable rung at a time.
And this is where those paths can really start to diverge. Remember, at the very beginning, I told you to keep those automatic baby reflexes in mind. Well, normally those reflexes just fade away as a baby gets older, making space for them to learn voluntary movements. But in a child with CP, those early reflexes can sometimes stick around. And when they do, they act like a roadblock, literally blocking the way to the next skill on that developmental ladder.
This is such a key idea that therapists actually have a name for it: developmental blocks. And it's so important to understand this. It isn't about the child not wanting to move or not being able to learn. It's that an underlying automatic pattern is getting in the way, physically stopping them from getting the control they need to move on.
So, if a developmental path is blocked, what do? How do you help clear the way? Well, that's where the incredible hands-on world of occupational therapy comes in. It's all about finding clever ways to build those skills.
This quote really nails the whole philosophy. The goal isn't just to say, make muscles stronger. It's way more subtle than that. It's about helping to quiet down those stubborn, unhelpful reflexes so that the body's more natural, built-in responses for balance and control can finally come through.
And check this out. This is a perfect example of how that works, using what's called adaptive equipment. I mean, think about it. If a kid is using every ounce of their energy and focus just to keep from falling over, how can they possibly focus on anything else? This chair provides that stability for them. It does the hard work of sitting up, which frees up their hands and their brain to focus on other really important stuff, like playing and learning.
And therapy can be really hands-on. What you're seeing here is a technique called jaw control. A therapist can use their own hands to give some gentle support and stability right at the jaw. And this tiny bit of help can make a world of difference in controlling all those super complex movements for eating, sucking, swallowing, chewing. It makes a fundamental part of life, eating, so much safer and less stressful.
It's not random either. Therapists follow a really smart, systematic approach. So, step one, you've got to gently stretch out those tight muscles so they have a chance to work properly.
Then, you find a stable point on the body, often the hips, to work from. Therapists call this a point of control. And from that stable base, they can help guide the child through feeling their own weight and shifting it. It's like they're helping to reteach the body and brain what normal, balanced movement actually feels like.
Okay, so we've talked a lot about movement, but the effects of cerebral palsy can reach way beyond just motor skills. I mean, the injury is in the brain, right? And the brain is the control center for everything, so it makes sense that the impact can show up in a lot of different areas of a person's life.
That original injury to the brain doesn't always stay neatly in the motor section. It can also affect the areas that handle things like vision, hearing, speech, and how we learn. And that's exactly why good therapy always looks at the whole child, not just one part of them.
And this chart, wow, it really puts some numbers to that. Look at this. Vision problems are incredibly common, affecting as many as half of all kids with CP. And about a quarter of them, 1 in 4, might also have challenges with hearing or speech. That's significant.
And this number really underscores just how complex this can be. Somewhere between half and 3/4 of kids with CP might also have some level of cognitive impairment. This is just another huge reason why you can never say this is what cerebral palsy is like. There is absolutely no one-size-fits-all.
But here's the thing. No matter what the specific challenges are, the ultimate goal is always the same. Every single intervention, every piece of adaptive equipment, every therapy session, it's all pointing in one direction, helping that person live as independently as possible, participate in their world, and just have the best possible quality of life.
And that really brings us to our final thought, which is a really powerful shift in perspective. It's about moving away from a mindset of limitation. So instead of asking, what can't they do? What happens when we flip the script and ask, how can we help them succeed?